basically after Hiyashi says Byakugan, she says Rinnegan, and he actually thinks Hinata says Rinnegan a little time after. She says Byakugan, and basically Hinata or not Hinata. He actually thinks that Hinata is just like he's trying to trick me. He says only supreme people and people with enormous power wield the Rinnegan, and you are not one of those people. And he says, now stop playing with me and fight. And he can finish his sentence. After he says fight, he's booming in the genjutsu. He's in a genjutsu that he is winning the battle against Hinata. But he feels something is off. He doesn't know, but all he cares about is that he's winning. All he cares about is that he's winning. So he says, "Ha! I've won," and Hinata says, "Release," and he actually beat up, bruised, and tattered on the floor, and he says, "How'd you beat me?" And she says, "Simple. I just used She says, "Simple. All I did was use my ring gun." And she says, she didn't say anything, but she deactivates her ring gun. And basically, after she deactivated her ring gun, basically Naruto, he was like, "See, I told you my baby was gonna win." And Naruto blushes and says, or Naruto, not Naruto, what's his name? Neji. Neji says, if I didn't mention Neji was in this fight, Neji says, he knows it, he was watching it with Naruto, or listening from what they could hear from the outside, and Naruto says, Neji says, "Wow, I can't believe Hinata won." And Neji says, or Naruto says, "I told you my baby girl will win." And Hinata walks out unscathed, not a single scratch mark on her. And Naruto picks her up and kisses her. And he says, "Good job, Hina." And she says, "Thank you, Naruto-kun," as he kisses her again in front of Neji. And she says, "Don't do that in front of Neji." And he says, "We do it all the time, Hinata. It's fine." And she blushes even harder and says, "Don't say that." And he says, "Do you want another one?" And after he says, "Do you want another one?" Basically, she says, and he says, "It sounds like you do." And he kisses her again, and she passes out. And Neji says, "What did I just witness?" And he says, "Oh, I forgot you were there." And he says, "Yeah, but that's typical Hinata. She loves to pass out when I kiss her." And he says, "Mostly, when I mostly do that, she mostly doesn't do that, but in front of other people, definitely, yeah. Because she really doesn't like being kissed in front of other people." And Neji says, "Oh, okay." And after he says, "Okay," Naruto says, "So, Naruto, how do you think Hinata's role gonna impact the Hyuga clan?" And he says, "I think she's gonna treat everybody fair and square, cause she wasn't treated fairly." And Neji said, "Okay." And Hinata I already could have recorded this. It's just so annoying recording it again. Hinata says, I forgot a lot of it too. Hinata wakes up. Yeah. Hinata wakes up. And after Hinata wakes up, basically, she says, oh, hi, Naruto. Okay. And he says, looks like, you passed out from my smoochies. He says, look like you passed out from my smoochies. And she blushes, and she says, yeah, well, I love them. And he says, I love you, Hinata. And Hinata says, I love you too, Naruto-kun. And he says, Hinata-chan, you want to go on a date with me tomorrow? And she says, Naruto, we go on dates all the time. You don't have to ask me. And he says, no, this one is not yet. He says, no, when we go on dates, I never ask you. So if you think about it, they're really not dates. And she says, okay, whatever. And Naruto says, thank you, Hinata. And after she says, thank you, Hinata, Neji says, you two really are official, huh? And he says, yeah. And Neji says, 2 13-year-olds acting like they're grown-ups. He says, no, we don't have any. He says, well, not really. We don't have any kids yet. And Hinata blushes. And he says, Neji, do you know how to make kids? And basically, Hinata blushes even more. And she says, don't ask him that. Well, no, Neji asks Naruto. He says, Neji says, hey, Naruto, do you even know how to make kids? And Naruto says, I don't. Could you give me a formal lesson? And Hinata says, Naruto, don't say that. She says, Naruto, don't say that. And after she says that, Naruto looks at Hinata and says, Hinata, do you know how to make babies? And Hinata says, yes, I do. And it is very serious. And he says, well, could you teach me? He says, well, could you teach me? And she blushes and says, we're not old enough. And he walks over to Hinata. He grabs her waist and he pulls her closer and says, age is age. He hears that age doesn't mean a thing. Hinata blushes. Hinata passes out. And Neji says, you really know how to make her pass out, don't you? And he says, yeah. He says, yeah, I guess. She usually does this a lot though. But she's fainting more than usual. It's maybe because I'm a little more sexual than I am other times. And Neji says, what do you do to my cousin? He says, you two haven't had sex, right? He says, you two haven't had sex yet, right? And Neji says, oh, no. I'm saving that moment till we're 16 or 18. 16 through 18 years old. And Neji says, you should probably wait till you're 18. And Naruto says, I'm just going to wait till I'm 16. And Neji says, as a Hyuga member, and as Hinata as the leader of a Hyuga, as the Hyuga clan, I command you to have sex with Hinata at 18 years old. And Naruto says, alright, whatever. I'll have sex with her at 18 years old. And Hinata wakes up and she says, Naruto, what happened? And he says, he's about to say the same stuff again. And Neji says, nothing, Hinata. You just fainted after Naruto kissed you. And she touches her lips and says, Naruto, kiss me. And she she's kind of like embarrassed, so she starts blushing a little bit. And Naruto, he says, "Yeah, I did kiss you. Felt really good." And she blushes even more. And Naruto says, and Neji says, "Stop it, you idiot! You're gonna make her faint again." And Naruto says, "Okay." As he picks her up, and after he picks her up, basically, Naruto, he said, Naruto, he just picked her up, and then he says, "We're gonna ride there early, Naruto, cause I know you're gonna have a lot of work to do." And she says, "Oh, okay, Naruto-kun." And Naruto says, "What would you like to eat?" And she says, "I would like some, some some curry." Now I'm finna whip the whole plate up. She says, "Can I go to a buffet?" And Naruto says, "If that's what you want, pull up to the buffet." Now he says it costs $40 for the both of. Oh no, he says $15 for the both of them. And Naruto says, okay. And basically, after he says $15 for the both of them, he looks at Naruto, and he says, "Is this your girl?" And Naruto says, "Yeah. Don't you think about taking her? Don't you think about taking her? She's mine and mine forever." And Hinata smiles and says, "Yeah." Says, "Yeah, I'm his and he's mine." And basically Naruto, or the man says, "Oh, just curious. Didn't really know." And she says, "Ah, got it. You're a Hugo member, aren't you?" And she says, "Yeah, I am." And he says, "I thought he's," and then Naruto says, or the owner says, the waiter says, "I thought only Hugo members was only allowed today. Other Hugo members." And she said, "No, I'm the Hugo leader now. So I make the rules." And I've been dating him since we were like 8 years old. And he says, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah." And she says, "How old are you now?" He says, "We're 13. We're 13 years old." And basically, after she says this, Naruto basically says, "Yeah, we've been dating for quite a while, long time." And he says, "I just can't wait for 5 more years." And he says, the clerk says, "Why can't you wait? Why can't you wait 5 more years?" And he says, "Ah, man, you'll see, you'll see." And the chef owner says, "You wanna," he says, sorry. He's like, "You wanna have sex with her, don't you?" That's what he's about to say. But then he says, "No, focus." And he says, "Your table will be the third table on A4. On A row. It will be the third table." And he says, "Okay." They go to the A row, or the A section, and they look for the third table. God, bro. They found it, and basically, they found it, and basically, Naruto, he just started, Naruto basically, he says, "Okay, Naruto, go pick out what you want. I'll come with you a short time after." And I'm gonna say Hinata says, "Okay." And I'm gonna say Naruto, he's setting up, he's gonna ask her to marry him. Cause they've been together for a minute. So he got the ring and everything. And he, he sees Naruto, he not to go to get her food, or she's getting her food. and then an old man or a old ugly man or a man walks up to Hinata around his 30s and touches Hinata's shoulders and says, touches Hinata's shoulder, and he starts massaging her shoulder, and he says, Hinata says, sir, could you please move your hands? That's very uncomfortable. And he said, oh, sorry. As he moves his hand, he put his hand on her left shoulder. Yeah, he put one of his hands on her left shoulder, and he says, hold on. I want to pronounce this correctly, but I want to pronounce it funny. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna just pronounce it. He says, oh, this is the cousin part. He says, you want to be a little piece I'm fucking with? And Hinata says, huh? He says, do you want to be a little piece that I'm fucking with? And Naruto, he gets up to go grab his food, and he sees that man's shoulder, that man's hand on Hinata's shoulder. And she says, no, thank you. That's very weird and creepy of you. And he says, you don't have a choice. And he grips Hinata's shoulder. And for some reason, she can't activate that Byakugan that she was trying to use. And he says, don't try your dojutsu on me. It won't even work. And basically, Naruto gets up. He's about to go over there. And, she's like terrified. And basically, the man grabs her shoulder. He starts walking with her. Naruto sees this shit. Naruto sees this. And Mom! Naruto sees this shit. And my nigga like, man, I know damn well that nigga ain't trying to do what the hell I think he trying to do to Hina. He said, oh fuck no. He body flicking in front of the creepy ass man. And he say, oh, I would like to help you with that job, mister. And he says, ha, you must be. He says, ha, you must want. He says, ha, good, I have another assistant. And he goes to the back, and he says, and he goes to the back, he throws Hinata on the ground, and Hinata like, Naruto, help me, please. Just do something already. And basically, Naruto says, I would say Naruto and Hinata, they seen each other naked before. Like a lot. So, Naruto says, you do your thing. I'll sit for a watch. Bro, and after he says that, the man, he zoop, put on the pants, and he says, ooh, I'm gonna make you mine. And he says, Naruto, he's a pixie Naruto up. Naruto, he says, yeah, a little bit too far. Don't. He neck chopped that man. He neck chopped the man, and then he killed him. And he says, I really don't need. He says, yeah, don't ever do that again. And basically, Hinata says, I hate you, Naruto. And she says, how could you go with that? And he says, well, I saved you, didn't I, Hinata? And she slaps him and says, no, I almost thought I was about to get raped by that old ass man. And Naruto says, but you didn't, Hinata. You didn't. I saved you. And she said, I hate you. I hate you, Naruto. And she says, this date is over. And you're sleeping on the couch tonight. And Naruto said, but why? after he says you're sleeping on the couch tonight, um, she says, because of what the hell you did, Naruto. That crap wasn't funny at all. And basically, she sees Naruto. They walk out the back room, and Naruto and whatchamacallit go in that room, and I don't know, Naruto and Hina, they leave, and the waiter, he says, "You leaving already?" And they don't say. Hinata doesn't say anything, and Naruto says, "Sorry, man. Here's a tip," and he gives him $300. And he says, "Kid, don't you think this is a little bit much? You're overpaying." He says, "Yeah, keep it. Have to make things right with my girl." And basically, he walks up, he runs to Hinata. He said he puts his arm over her, and she says, "Move your dang arm," or nah. She says, "Move your damn arm." And Hinata says, "Okay, sorry, Hinata." And he says, "Please." He walks in front of Hinata, and he grabs her hand, and he starts fake crying, and he says, "Please, Hinata." He gets on his knees and says, "Please, Hinata, please don't be mad at me, please." As he grabs her hand and says, "Yeah, you have to learn how to forgive and forget sometimes. I saved you, so that's all that should matter." And she's like, she feels kind of bad now, but then Naruto says she's still feeling bad, and Naruto says, "I promise you I won't do it again," as he's still fake crying. And basically she never seen Naruto cry, so she's like, he's really crying over me. Maybe I should stop. And she says, "Okay, Naruto, good. I'm not mad at you anymore." And he says, "Not," and Hinata says, and Hinata says, and he says, "You're not mad at me?" And Hinata says, "No, I'm not mad at you anymore." And basically, he says, "Okay, good." He says, "Okay, good." As he gets up and he wipes his fake tears, and he says, "I hope you know that I love you, Hinata." And she says, "So you telling me all that crap was fake?" And he says, "Yeah, pretty much. I'm a pretty skilled actor, right?" And as he touches his chin, she says, "Naruto," and he says, "Yeah." He looks over her way. Bow! Hinata straight socked the shit out of my nigga. Naruto felt that ground and said, "What was that for?" And she said, "That's what you get for playing with my emotions." And he said, and Naruto said, "Well, what if I just came over there and said, 'Hey, Hinata,' and sucked the shit out of you?" And Hinata said, "Oh yeah, you know what happened. You will get this whole thing. You can past the sage lion fist." And Naruto said, "Oh yeah, I would probably lose that battle." And she says, "No, I know you would win, but I would just beat you so bad. I would just beat you up so bad that you think you would lose. And plus, I know you wouldn't hit me ever in your life." And Naruto says, "You know me well, Hinata." As he gets up and he's about to try to kiss her. He's about to kiss her, and she says, "No, not right now." And Naruto says, "I thought we were cool." As they get to the car, or no, he says, "I thought we were cool," as they walking back to the Hyuga compound. Naruto says, she says, "After what you just did, and you started playing with my emotions like that, no, we're not cool. We're not cool." And she says, "Naruto, I need a break." And he says, "What do you mean, Hinata?" And she says, "I need a break for at least a couple months, a couple months or two, and she's playing with his emotions, and he says, but Hinata, I love you. And she gets on his knees and says, please Hinata, I was gonna marry you today. Please don't leave me like this. Hinata actually serious. Hinata, she says, you were gonna marry me? And she said, Hinata says, yeah, in that restaurant, but that old geezer happened, so I couldn't. And she says, Naruto, I was joking, but if you were gonna marry me, do it now. And Naruto says, see, I can't. That just won't surprise any fun, will it? He says, now will it? And she says, she says, no, it won't. And she she gets Naruto, and well, she don't get Naruto, but she picks Naruto up and says, I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun. And she kisses him, and Naruto kisses her, and he picks her up, and he's holding her waist, while her legs are around his waist area, and her legs are around his waist area, her arms are around his neck, and they just kissing, and he going at it. They just kissing and kissing, and the stranger says, you're not about to have sex in that parking lot, right? And Naruto says, oh yeah, sorry about that. And he picks Hinata up, and he throws back over to the Hero compound, and he says, and he says, looks like we're here. And I want to say, that the people are welcoming her. They're like, they say Hinata. They say